Well, 6 months ago, if you would have told me that Doug Ford would be the Premier of Ontario, I would have said, well, that doesn't even make sense. He might run for the Mayor of Toronto. What are you talking about, Premier? Well, things move quickly. It was a very exciting election, and I have to say, I mean, we love the Rebel. We think we're the dissidents and we're the troublemakers. I have to give credit where it's due. The Toronto Sun newspaper was the most important newspaper in that election because they were the ones doing the real due diligence on the various parties and their candidates. And one of the reporters who brought spectacular stories to the front page, in addition to our friend Joe Warmington, is our friend Sue Ann Levy, and she joins us now in studio. So it's great to see you again.
Hey, Ezra. Nice to see you.
Well, you know, last time we had you on, I think, it was to talk about your book, Underdog.
Yeah.
Confession of a Right-Wing Gay Jewish Muckraker. That's a heck of a lot of great adjectives together. You broke a lot of stories about some NDP candidates that if they had not been vetted by you, God forbid, they might even be cabinet ministers today.
Oh my God, and some of them got in.
Give me an example of some of the crazy that you
Who got in? Who actually got in?
Let's go through some of your hits. Tell me about some of the stories you broke.
Well, the one woman who got in my own riding, St. Paul's, is a fat, black activist, queer activist. She's allied with Black Lives Matter. I'm actually heartbroken that she got in. And she made her living off of getting people or speaking up about fat shaming and actually giving talks on fat shaming.
It's sort of a weird, skill set that's probably not applicable to running a province.
Well, the worst thing was that, what we found out, and I did a story on, was that right after the Gay Pride Parade 2 years ago, she called the police chief a coon on her Facebook feed.
And the police, and just for those who don't know, who aren't in Toronto, the police chief in Toronto is a black man.
Is a black man.
And I don't think it makes it any better that the insulter herself was black.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think that makes it any better at all.
No. But they said that she had every right, and she was propped up, by the way, by Desmond Cole, that radical black activist. I think he's a very hateful man, very angry man. And they said that it was quite fine because it was just talk between black people. The other woman who got in University Rosedale, which is a new riding, her name is Jessica Bell, formerly known as Jessica Markham, was arrested twice in Seattle for civil disobedience.
And she changed her name to sort of leave that criminal past behind.
Exactly.
That's good investigative journalism.
So, it started, Ezra, as just a couple of stories about the anti-Israel. The other person who got in was Joel Harden in Ottawa Centre. Thank goodness these people are not going to hold cabinet positions. He is also a rabid promoter of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, and has been pushing the NDP to support that movement.
I accept that I'm right-wing and that there's left-wingers and that we can have a hearty debate.
Right.
But we're not even talking about right-wing, left-wing. When you're anti-cop, like Guratan Singh, that's one more candidate.
Yes.
That he's an NDP or his brother's.
And then the Poppy lady.
And the Poppy. When you're holding a sign that says F-U-C-K, the police.
Yeah.
Standing next to a cop.
Yeah.
There's a theme here. These aren't just, I can abide an honest leftist who makes the case, and there are some. But these are pure identity politics smashers who are 1 inch over from Antifa rioters.
Well, the big problem is that, there are a roster of obviously not well vetted, or the fact was that they were vetted because their Facebook and Twitter feeds were scrubbed completely. We had to go back a couple of years. They weren't vetted. If they were vetted, then this is what this is what they wanted. They wanted social justice candidate. And the other problem was that Andrea Horwath is a weak, I think she's still a weak leader, and she didn't speak out against all these hateful people.
Every single one of them, she found an excuse.
Yes.
Oh, I'm for free speech. Really?
Yeah.
I wish she was for free speech.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say congratulations, and I enjoyed reading your stuff.
Oh, thank you.
And I have to say, not only did I enjoy reading it, I enjoyed the reaction of the media party to your columns. Boy, they wanted to shut you and Joe up.
Yes, they did.
That's when you know you're doing good work.
Well, the last week I went out on the campaign trail with her. I asked to go out because I felt that they were lobbing her softball questions, the media party. Yeah. And you should have seen the looks that they gave me.
Yeah, because they're sort of the auxiliary of the NDP.
Right.
Well, congratulations,
Thank
Sue Ann.
you.
I want to shift gears a little. I mean, boy, that was a very exciting campaign. I'm a new Ontarian. I'm from out west, and I have to say, Doug Ford has the spirit of the West in him.
Yes.
I like that about him. Let's shift gears to the biggest city in the country, Toronto, that used to be run by Mayor Rob Ford, and I had a soft spot for Rob. Obviously, he's passed away now. I found his flaws to be touching. Because, I mean, I wasn't thrilled about his troubles, but I thought he was, the hatred and the viciousness, I found him a sympathetic character.
Me too.
And underneath all the flaws, and we don't need to list them all, I know it sounds weird to say there was an honest man underneath the trouble, but there was, I think. And I think people saw that, and he had a connection with people. I hate the fact that anyway, we don't need to talk about, but he was replaced by John Tory. Now tell me a bit about John Tory.
Well, he's been a huge disappointment, I think, to many who voted for him. However, I knew what we were getting into. In fact, endorsed Doug Ford when they ran against each other in 2014. Doug, of course, jumped in to replace his brother, who was ill, and did very well. And I knew that John Tory was a weak man. I knew that he would put his finger up and detect whichever way the wind blew. And, not surprisingly, he has been totally co-opted by the left on council and their crazy ideas. And, he is, I guess, in a way, a champagne, he's not a socialist, but he is, been brought up with a silver spoon in his mouth, but he has a sense of guilt that he has to do whatever he can to help the downtrodden. The only thing is that the natives now are running the asylum in this city, and it's very concerning to me the way he's pandered, in particular to two leftists on council, well, three, Kristen Wong-Tam, Joe Cressy, and Joe Mihevik, all with radical agendas, pro-safe injection site agendas, pro-shelter, throw everything wherever. Who gives a gosh damn about anybody who is a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen?
In a way, a guy like John Tory is the worst because he doesn't have the grassroots connections of a Ford. He comes from the fancy end of things, so he's, like you say, he's always got this guilt, he's always apologizing, and so he's so susceptible because he doesn't have a strong rudder himself. Let me ask you, when's the next Toronto civic election?
It's October 22nd of this year.
Are you serious? It's coming up very quickly. Yes,
very quickly. Actually, the nominations close at the end of July.
That is almost now. I want to ask you, with Doug Ford in the provincial government, that says two things to me. First of all, the big dog everyone was sort of counting on to run, where he's got other things to do. But his success, including in the Toronto boundaries, suggests that there might be an appetite for voters for someone with some real
cojones.
Oomph. Yeah. Are there any people on your radar screen who might fit the bill?
Well, the unfortunate thing is that John Tory has shifted so far to the left that nobody on the left wants to run because he's given them everything they want and more. So he's not a conservative anymore. I don't know if he ever was. You really need somebody with some common sense who, is more akin to fiscal conservatism and understands a law and order agenda.
Is there someone? Give me some names. I mean...
Oh, God. I wish we could just throw somebody in there to ask him hard questions.
Well, okay. I got to ask you, because if you said ask him hard questions, well, you were the one who had to go out and ask hard questions of Andrea Horwath. You were the one who had to do the digging to vet candidates that the mighty Toronto Star and the mighty CBC with their enormous budgets didn't. I'm just going to take a lark here. Sue Ann Levy, you got a big personality.
Jewish gay mayor. Jewish gay mayor. Well, I have toyed with it, but it's a very expensive proposition to run. So it would have to be a real grassroots campaign.
Have you let people know that you would be open to it?
Just been thinking about it in the last little while.
You need money, but you need a team.
Yeah.
You need a platform. I think you'd have the platform.
Well, the only thing with John Tory is that he has the big power players behind him.
Right.
And
but by platform, I mean like a list of top 3 ideas or something. Like when I think Rob Ford, I think garbage strike and the gravy trains, taxes, cut the red tape.
I think law and order in this city is a mess. I think there's a real problem with enabling drug drug dealers, drug addicted.
Injection sites.
Yeah.
Okay, what about transit? It's a complicated subject.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's right wing or left wing. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, transit, I think, the problem is that there's just not enough money for transit, and you've got a council that's shifted every which way and, backwards. Some reason nothing is getting built is because they keep changing their mind. I don't agree with John Tory's $3 billion to now one subway stop to Scarborough. There's got to be another way to do it.
All right. I like your style. You've got a profile. Anyone who writes for the newspaper, people know them. They feel a familiarity. So unlike some other candidates, you've already got name and face recognition. I'm guessing...
Are you trying to
Well, I want to ask you this. You said you're sort of floating some trial balloons. How can people feed back to you? Yes or no? Do you have a website? Do you have an email address? So let's say there's someone who's watching right now who says, well, I'd chip in some bucks, I'd chip in some time, and I got some friends, and I'm ready to roll. How do they say, hey, Sue-Ann, jump in? How do they do that?
ScoopLevy@Rogers.com.
ScoopLevy@Rogers.com. Okay, we'll put that up on the screen. I think you should get a website, like just to test the waters, or maybe get a friend, like a draft.
I do actually have a website, SueAnnLevy.ca.
SueAnnLevy.ca.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm very interested. I'm a fan of yours because
I'm a fan of yours.
Well, it's like you see. Here's what I know about you. You fight. You fight, and you have that spirit. And you don't bend the knee when the other side says, submit. You don't. And to me, that's the most important characteristic of a public leader, is you're not going to be intimidated or shouted down or, that tusked by the media party.
Well, you know what? Rob Ford, actually, for the first year and a half, unfortunately, he had his addictions. We won't talk about them. But he did some really good work, and he had some really good people around him, and he accomplished a lot. That's never covered by the media party.
All right. Well, we'll put up on the screen the contact information again if you want to give your feedback to Sue-Ann. Do you think she should run? Some might say you're having more influence where you are. There's a difference between power and influence.
Yes.
You don't have any power as a columnist, but you have influence. You had a lot of influence in the first election. It'll be interesting.
And I know I drive John Tory crazy whenever I write about all this stuff.
That's valuable in itself too. Well, great. It's great to see you again.
Thank you.
I was just so pleased with what I think that you and Joe, and I like you guys, I think that you more than any other two people helped save this province from a near disaster. And let me just say thanks as a new Ontarian.
Well, it's funny because the NDP just came out of nowhere, and it was...
Well, it could have gone that way. It could have gone that way. All right, well, let's put those contact info, the email address and the website up on the screen, and I'd invite you, my viewers, to let Sue-Ann know. What do you think? You think she should run? Are you just saying that, or would you, help out, whether it's a few bucks or some hours? That's an excerpt from my daily TV show, The Ezra Levant Show. Normally it's behind a paywall, but I thought you'd like this video, so we put it on YouTube. If you want to subscribe to watch the daily show every day, including always 2 interviews a day, and I read my hate mail, just click on this screen and become a premium member.